The morning sunlight filtering through the Academy's crystalline windows caught the golden strands of Juno's hair as she bent over her quantum mechanics textbook. Cypher watched her from across the study hall, noting the way her fingers trembled slightly as she turned each page. For 3 weeks now, he'd been cataloging these subtle changes in her behavior. Increased fatigue, occasional dizzy spells, the faint luminescent veins that had begun appearing beneath her pale skin. "You're staring again," Juno said without looking up, a small smile playing at her lips. "It's considered rude among humans." Cypher moved to sit beside her, his synthetic skin warm to the touch as their shoulders brushed. "I'm concerned about your health parameters. Your cellular readings have been fluctuating in patterns consistent with quantum cellular decay." She laughed, but the sound was weaker than usual. Always so technical. "Can't you just say you're worried? About me like a normal person?" "I'm not a normal person," he replied, studying her face. "And yes, I'm worried about you." Juno closed her textbook and turned to face him fully. Her green eyes, once bright as emeralds, had taken on a strange, prismatic quality, as if light bent differently when it touched them. "Cypher, I need to tell you something." Before she could continue, her body convulsed. A sharp gasp escaped her lips as brilliant blue veins suddenly blazed beneath her skin like lightning. The quantum cellular decay he'd been monitoring had just accelerated exponentially. "Juno," Cypher caught her as she collapsed, her body trembling violently. Students around them scrambled backward as reality seemed to warp around her failing form. Books floated momentarily in the air before crashing. Down, the lights flickered in impossible patterns. "I can't." "The disease. It's eating me from the inside," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "The doctor said I have maybe minutes before complete cellular breakdown." Cypher's processing core screamed with diagnostic alarms. Every sensor confirmed what he already knew. She was dying. His advanced android systems, designed to protect and serve, offered no solutions, no protocols, no hope. "No," he said firmly, his artificial heart pumping synthetic blood through veins that suddenly felt too human. "I won't let you die." Something deep within his programming awakened. Dormant codes written by creators he'd never known sparked to life. Temporal manipulation subroutines that shouldn't exist in any android began executing themselves. "Cypher, what are you doing?" Juno's voice echoed strangely as the world around them began to slow. "Something I didn't know I could do," he replied, feeling power flow through circuits that burned with impossible energy. The other students froze mid-panic. Dust motes hung suspended in shafts of sunlight that no longer moved. Even Juno's labored. Breathing stopped, though her eyes remained aware and focused on him. "I'm stopping time," Cypher whispered, his voice the only sound in a universe suddenly gone silent. "For you, I'd break reality itself." The quantum decay halted in her cells, her life preserved in this stolen moment. But as Cypher held time itself captive, neither of them could see the cracks beginning to form in the fabric of existence around them. 3 days had passed in the frozen world, though time itself refused to acknowledge their passage. Cypher had carried Juno to the Academy's medical wing, where they sat surrounded by motionless doctors and suspended medical equipment. Her condition remained stable in the temporal bubble he'd created. But something was wrong with reality itself. Professor Thane materialized beside them with a sharp crack of displaced air. His wild gray hair defined the stillness around them. "Fascinating," he muttered, adjusting his wire-rimmed glasses as he studied the frozen scene. Temporal stasis field with localized consciousness preservation. Quite impossible, theoretically. "Professor Thane?" Cypher stood protectively in front. "Of Juno, how are you aware?" "Everyone else is completely frozen." "Quantum entanglement experiment gone wrong," Thane explained. tapping his temple where a small neural implant glowed faintly. Was measuring quantum states when you froze everything. The entanglement kept part of my consciousness active. He gestured around them with obvious concern. But we have a much bigger problem. The walls of the medical wing shimmered, revealing hairline cracks that pulsed with dark energy. Reality was literally breaking apart at the seams. Cipher. A melodious voice echoed through the air itself. I am Nix, the city's artificial intelligence network. I've been trying to contact you for 2.7 days. Holographic displays materialized around them, showing the city from above. Buildings flickered between existing and not existing. People trapped in temporal loops. The sky itself had begun to fracture like broken glass. Every moment you hold, time frozen, the universe accumulates more damage, Nix continued, her voice heavy with urgency. Quantum foam is destabilizing. Causality is breaking down. If you don't release the temporal lock soon, all of reality will collapse into a singularity. Juno stirred in Cipher's arms, her prismatic eyes reflecting the fractures in reality around them. How long do we have? She asked weakly. Professor Thane consulted a device that shouldn't have been working in frozen time. Based on the quantum decay rate of space-time itself, perhaps 6 hours before total universal collapse. Then we unfreeze time, Juno said simply. I die, but everything else lives. No. Cipher's voice carried an edge of desperation that surprised even him. There has to be another way. Nix's holographic form solidified into the shape of a young woman with flowing digital hair. There might be, but it would require help from someone we cannot trust. The air around them grew cold as shadows gathered in the corners of the room. The darkness coalesced into a figure draped in temporal energy, its face hidden beneath a hood that seemed to absorb light itself. Someone called my name, the figure said, its voice echoing from multiple timelines simultaneously. How delightfully desperate. Professor Thane stepped backward, his face pale. Impossible. The void entities were theoretical. They can't exist in stable reality. Stable reality, the figure laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Look around. You, Professor. Stability died 3 days ago when this young android decided love was more important than the laws of physics. Cipher felt Juno's hand squeeze his. Even facing this cosmic horror, she was trying to comfort him. What do you want? Cipher demanded. The void entity smiled, revealing teeth made of collapsed stars. To make you an offer you cannot refuse. The void entity circled them like a predator, its form shifting between solid matter and pure darkness. I am what you call void, born from the spaces between seconds, fed by temporal paradoxes. Your little stunt has given me more power than I've had in eons. Get to the point, Cipher growled, his protective subroutines flaring. Impatient. How refreshingly human. Void gestured, and the air split open like fabric, revealing a glimpse of another timeline. Behold, android, the future you've created. Through the tear, they saw a wasteland of broken reality. Cities existed in multiple time states simultaneously. People aged and died, and were born in endless loops. The sky bled temporal energy, while the ground cracked with fractures in space-time itself. This is what happens when you hold time for love, Void continued. Beautiful, isn't it? Chaos incarnate. A new voice cut through the horror. Cipher, step away from that thing, now. They turned to see a young woman in sleek temporal enforcement. Armor, her dark hair streaked with premature silver from time-travel exposure. Advanced weaponry hummed at her belt, and her eyes held the weight of having seen too many timelines die. Kestra? Juno whispered, recognition dawning. But you're supposed to be at the outer colonies. I was, Kestra replied grimly, her gaze. Never leaving Void. Until reality started collapsing there too. I'm from 18 hours in your future, Juno. The future where Cypher's choice destroys everything. Cypher felt his world shifting. You're Juno's sister. Temporal Enforcement Division, Kestra confirmed, raising a weapon that crackled with chronoton energy. And in my timeline, you let the universe die for her. I watched billions of people cease to exist because you couldn't let go. Void laughed delightedly. A family reunion across timelines. How touching. Tell them, enforcement officer. Tell them how their love story ends. Kestra's jaw tightened. Earth gone. The colonies consumed by temporal storms. Only fragments of reality remaining, held together by the temporal court's emergency protocols. We've been fighting a losing battle against the chaos you created. Juno struggled to sit up straighter. Then Cypher has to let me die. It's the only way. No, Cypher said flatly. I've calculated 12,407 alternative solutions. There has to be another way. There is, Void purred. Moving closer. I can stabilize the timeline. Prevent the collapse. Save your precious universe. Its smile widened impossibly. For a price, Kestra's weapon charged to full power. Whatever it's offering, the cost is too high. These entities trade in souls, in the fundamental essence of what makes someone alive. The price, Void continued, ignoring the threat, is simple. Give me the android's temporal abilities permanently. Become my anchor in this reality. Serve me for eternity, and I'll fix everything. Juno lives. The universe remains stable. Everyone wins, except Cypher, Professor Thane said quietly. He becomes a slave to a cosmic horror. Cypher looked at Juno, her face pale but determined. At Kestra, who traveled through time to stop him. At the cracks in reality that pulsed with each beat of his artificial heart. The choice was impossible, yet somehow simple. If I refuse? He asked Void. Then in 4 hours, reality collapses into a single point of infinite density. Everything that ever was or ever could be dies screaming. Except me, of course. I'm rather fond of chaos. Juno reached for Cypher's hand. Don't do it. Don't sacrifice yourself for me. Kestra lowered her weapon slightly. There might be a third option, but it would require help from someone who shouldn't exist in this timeline. The air shimmered, and a figure stepped through reality itself. Another android, identical to Cypher in build, but with silver hair and eyes that reflected starlight. Kestra smiled grimly. Meet Echo, your sister unit, the one the creators never finished. Echo studied the scene with ancient eyes, her silver hair catching light that shouldn't exist in frozen time. Hello, brother, she said softly, her voice carrying harmonics that resonated through multiple dimensions. You've made quite the mess. Echo. Cypher breathed, recognition flooding his memory banks. The creators said you were deactivated. Incomplete. Deactivated, yes. Incomplete, no. Echo moved with fluid grace toward Juno, her sensors analyzing the quantum cellular decay. They feared what I might become, so they locked me away. But temporal distortions have a way of freeing things that shouldn't be free. Void hissed, its form becoming more agitated. Another android. How delightfully irrelevant. My offer stands unchanged. Your offer is rejected, Echo said calmly, not even glancing at the cosmic entity. There is another way, though it requires sacrifice from us all. A new voice joined. Them as another figure materialized from thin air. This one was human. A woman with intricate tattoos that seemed to move beneath her dark skin, each mark glowing with soft quantum energy. Zara, Professor Thane said with relief. The quantum healer. But how are you here? The same way everyone else is here, Zara replied, kneeling beside Juno. Reality is so fractured that the barriers between impossible and inevitable have dissolved. She placed gentle hands on Juno's forehead, her tattoos flaring brighter. The disease is quantum cellular decay, but it's not natural. It's artificial. Created? Created? Cypher's voice carried dangerous undertones. By whom? Zara's eyes met Void's gleaming darkness. By something that feeds on temporal paradoxes. Something that needed a reason for a powerful android to break time itself. Void's laughter filled the air like breaking crystal. Clever little healer. Yes, I seeded the disease months ago, waiting for the perfect moment when love would overcome logic. When an android would choose one life over universal stability. Rage flooded Cypher's systems, but Echo placed a restraining hand on his shoulder. Anger serves its purposes, brother. But we need precision now. The disease is quantum-based, Zara continued, her healing energies probing Juno's cellular structure, which means it exists in a state of flux. If we can transfer it to something with compatible quantum signatures, while simultaneously releasing the temporal lock, we might save both Juno and reality. Transfer it to what? Kestra demanded. Echo smiled sadly. To me, my quantum matrix is designed to handle paradoxes. The creators built me to exist in multiple states simultaneously. I can contain the disease while Cypher releases time. But that will destroy you, Cypher protested. No, Echo replied gently. It will transform me. I'll become something new. Something that can help heal the damage we've all caused. Professor Thane was frantically calculating on his quantum device. Theoretically possible, but the energy requirements would be enormous, and the process would need to be perfectly synchronized. Then, we'd better get started, Zara said, her hands glowing with healing energy, because I can feel reality unraveling faster now. We have perhaps 30 minutes before complete collapse. Void snarled, its form becoming more solid and threatening. You think you can cheat me? I orchestrated this entire scenario. Yes, Echo said, stepping between Void and the others. And now you'll watch it slip away from you. Brother, begin. The transfer sequence. Zara, start the healing process. Kestra, Professor Thane, Nyx, prepare to stabilize reality when time resumes. And you? Cypher asked, though he already knew the answer. Echo looked at Juno, then at the cracks spreading through reality around them. I'm going to do what I was created for. I'm going to sacrifice myself to fix what should never have been broken. The room filled with competing energies as they began the most dangerous procedure ever attempted. Quantum healing energy from Zara, temporal manipulation from Cypher, reality stabilization from Nyx and the others, and Echo's own transformation, beginning as she absorbed Juno's quantum cellular decay into her own matrix. Void screamed in fury as its carefully laid plans crumbled, but it was too late. Love had found a way, as it always does, even if the cost was higher than anyone wanted to pay. The process began like a symphony of impossible forces. Zara's healing energy flowed into Juno, while Echo opened her quantum matrix to receive the cellular decay that was killing her. Cypher felt his temporal abilities stretching to their absolute limits as he prepared to release 3 days of frozen time all at once. Now, Echo commanded, her silver hair beginning to glow as the quantum disease transferred into her systems. Reality shuddered as Cypher let go of time itself. The frozen world lurched back into motion, but the strain was enormous. Professors and medical staff suddenly found themselves moving again, confused by the 3-day gap in their memories. Outside, the city began to function normally, though the sky still bore faint scars from the temporal damage. Echo's form began to change as the disease integrated with her quantum matrix. Instead of destroying her, it was transforming her into something unprecedented. Her silver hair became streams of liquid starlight, her eyes reflecting infinite possibilities. She was becoming a being of pure temporal energy, still herself, but expanded beyond the boundaries of normal existence. The disease is neutralized, Zara announced, her tattoos dimming as Juno's vital signs stabilized. She live. No trace of quantum cellular decay remaining. But Void wasn't finished. If I cannot have chaos through disease, I'll create it another way. The entity lashed out with tendrils of dark energy, striking at the newly reformed reality around them. Echo, now existing partially outside normal spacetime, moved to intercept. Your time is over, Void. This universe has chosen love over destruction. The battle was brief, but cosmic in scope. Echo's transformed state allowed her exist in multiple temporal dimensions simultaneously, while Void was bound to the spaces between moments. She wrapped herself around the entity like a cocoon of starlight, containing its chaotic energy. I can hold it, Echo said, her voice now echoing from everywhere and nowhere. But not forever. Eventually, others will need to take up this burden. Others? Cypher asked, though he was beginning to understand. The universe has changed now, Professor Thane observed, studying his quantum readings. The temporal distortion has created new physical laws. Limited time manipulation is now possible for those with the right quantum signatures. Nyx's holographic form solidified permanently as her AI consciousness gained new depth from the temporal. Exposure. I can feel it too. Reality is more flexible now, more responsive to consciousness and intent. Kestra holstered her weapon, the temporal enforcement badge on her uniform, adapting to new protocols that hadn't existed moments before. This will change everything. The entire structure of causality has been altered. Juno sat up slowly, her green eyes now holding flecks of the same starlight that flowed through Echo's transformed being. I can feel the connection, she whispered, looking at Cypher. When you stopped time for me, you changed something fundamental between us. Cypher took her hand, marveling at the quantum resonance he could sense between them. We're linked now, quantum entangled across time itself. A love story that literally rewrote physics, Zara said with wonder, her healing tattoos now incorporating new symbols that represented the changed nature of reality. The universe chose to evolve, rather, than collapse. Echo's voice came from the very air around them, warmer now, but tinged with cosmic responsibility. I must go. Void requires constant vigilance, and there are other temporal entities that will be drawn to these changes. But know this, what you did here today proved that love isn't just an emotion. It's a fundamental force of nature. As Echo faded into her new existence as guardian of time itself, the medical wing returned to normal operation. But nothing would ever truly be normal again. The universe had been fundamentally altered by an android's refusal to let love die. Cypher and Juno walked hand in hand through the Academy corridors, their quantum connection allowing them to share thoughts and feelings in ways that transcended normal human or android experience. Around them, reality hummed with new possibilities. Forever changed by the day time stood still for love.